why S Bank fell into a crisis, and why was SBI, State Bank of India, asked to bail out S Bank? These are the two fundamental questions which we are now going to discuss. Firstly, S Bank is considered as one of the most promising private sector bank. It was the fourth largest private bank, and its motto was future now. So it wanted to implement what the future in the contemporary times, and the speed was its buzzword. So S Bank was set up around 2004, and within 15-16 years, it emerged as the fourth largest private sector bank with a turnover of over 4 lakh crores. Then why did it fell into such a serious mess? Today, S Bank is in a deep trouble and looking for someone to bail it out. So the first reason for that is there was an abnormal increase in the loan disbursement of this bank. In 2015-16, the total loans disbursed by S Bank stood at 1 lakh crores. So in over a decade of existence, S Bank given loans worth 1 lakh crores. But look at what happened after next 2-3 years. In 2017-18, the total loans disbursed by S Bank rose to whopping 2 lakh crores. In just a period of 1 to 2 years, it has given another 1 lakh crores as a loan. And by the end of 2018-19, the total loans of S Bank stood at 2,45,000 crores, even higher than the total deposits it has. So this is the loan spree with which the S Bank has gone about. So obviously the balance sheet has witnessed an unprecedented disbursement of loans, uncharacteristic of any banking business, and especially unrelated to its past performance. So obviously there are regulatory institutions which are supposed to notice this and ring the warning bells. So Reserve Bank of India, the Central Bank, the Securities and Exchange Board of India, the independent auditors, the independent directors. So what happened to all these regulatory bodies? And why did these regulatory bodies fail to fix this kind of a malaise that was creeping into the S Bank system? So that is the first question. The second point was, whom did it give? There was a massive expansion of its loan portfolio, but who are the beneficiaries of this reckless lending? Who got the maximum benefit from this irresponsible lending of S Bank? The S Bank has deliberately given loans to the companies which are already in a deep debt trouble, the companies which already defaulted on the loan payments to other banks and which are in losses. Can any bank give loans to a loss-making entity? Can any bank give loan to a company which had an history of defaults? Even if an ordinary human being like you and me want to take an housing loan, the bank will ask you 100 questions. And the most important is, what is your credit worthiness? What is your credit behavior? It will ask, what is your score? And after evaluating your past credit performance, the bank will give you a loan. But Anil Ambani, who is known to be defaulting on its loans, there is not a single company which is in profits. And Anil Ambani has taken loans from S Bank to the tune of 13,000 crores. Whose money is this? It's your money and my money. Who are the depositors in S Bank? Ordinary Indians. So Anil Ambani has taken away 13,000 crores, not just Anil Ambani. The DHFL, Diwan Housing Finance Limited, IL&FS Infrastructure Leasing and Financial Services, SL Group of Subhash Chandra, a BJP MP with his political contacts, could easily get loans from S Bank. And the fifth is the Vodafone. So if you read the list of these big creditors who have taken loans from the S Bank, is a clear indication that they are the who's who of India's corporate sector. And everybody knows that they are in deep trouble. They are debt-ridden companies. They have defaulted earlier. But still, is it possible for them to get loan without a political nexus or without a corrupt nexus? So this kind of a fraudulent lending practices, first the irresponsible lending, reckless lending, and second, the fraudulent manner in which the loans have been disbursed is the second reason for the S Bank crisis. Third factor is, how did this happen? Why did the bank give such loans, knowing fully well that these companies are not in good shape? There has been a nexus between the promoters of the private bank and the loanees. What does it mean? Suppose I want a loan from a private bank. I can simply approach the promoter of the private bank, in this case Rana Kapoor, who is the chairman and the promoter of the S Bank. I can tell him, I will give you 50 crores. In some form or other, that money will be transferred into an account of someone who is close to you. And you give me a 5,000 crore loan. So I take a 5,000 crore loan and give 50 crores or 100 crores as a bribe or as a corrupt, as some kind of a benefit. And that is precisely what happened in the S Bank. The S Bank chairman and promoter, Rana Kapoor's wife owned company, had a clear financial dealing, shady financial dealings with Anil Ambani, with DHFL, with others. So the enforcement directorate is now looking up into it. So this is nothing but a money laundering. So thus, by unduly benefiting from corporate houses, the bank has given loans in a risk, knowing fully well that there is a heavy risk involved in disbursement of such loans. So when all this is happening, the Reserve Bank of India, other regulatory institutions were simply not taking any action, except the fact that the RBI refused to extend the term of Rana Kapoor. So if RBI had decisively intervened, if government had decisively intervened when there is unexpected or unprecedented movement is seen in its balance sheet, the situation would not have come to this level. So my question is very simple. Today you will clean up the mess in S Bank. With whose money? With the money of you and me. State Bank of India is a public-owned company. So the public-owned company is asked to clean up the mess in a private sector bank. Now tell me who is efficient, who is inefficient, who is competent and who is incompetent. What will happen? State Bank of India's money is your money and my money because it is a government-owned bank and government essentially runs through the taxpayers' money. And SBI's depositors are you and me. So why should we pay the bills of Anil Ambani? Why should we pay the bills of Vodafone, pay the bills of Subhash Chandra of SL Group, just because they are closer to the people in power? Should we bear the burden of these fellows? So that is the fundamental question. So my point is very simple. Even if you clean up the mess with the SBI money, State Bank of India is expected to invest up to 10,000 crores to buy 49% stake in S Bank. It has already announced today investment of 2,450 crores. Well, even after investing our money to that extent, is there any guarantee that S Bank will perform properly? It won't, because unless these fraudulent practices which the private banks are indulging in, and to an extent even the top officials of the public sector banks are at times doing it. We have seen how Punjab National Bank top management official colluded with Nirav Modi. And unless these things do not happen, unless these corrupt practices are stopped, it is extremely difficult to revive the S Bank even after duly restructuring it with people's money. But still, why did government today ask the State Bank of India to invest in a loss-making bank? SBI is already the leading bank in the country. It doesn't need to own another private sector bank, that too loss-making bank. So why should it want to invest in a business that is a competition to itself? Will any businessman do this? But SBI is asked to do that. Well, SBI can do it, provided if its competitor is in profits. But its competitor is in a terrible mess, terrible financial mess. Still, SBI is asked to bail it out. Why? Because government doesn't wish to nationalize this S bank with its own money. Because government itself is in a financial trouble, its tax revenues are plummeting, and the meager tax revenues are squandered away in the form of tax incentives to the corporate sector. In last September itself, government has lost the revenue of 1,45,000 crores in the form of a cut in the corporate income tax. So obviously government doesn't have money, so it doesn't want to buy it, so instead it wants SBI to do the favor. And why the government is doing this? What will happen if S bank is allowed to collapse? The first thing that will happen is the S bank is actually an epitome, a symbol of government's philosophy of banking sector reforms. What is the government philosophy of banking sector reforms? Government repeatedly says that the private banks are good for the economy. Government should withdraw its stakes in the banking sector. Banking sector should be totally privatized. This is the philosophy of almost all the parties that ruled the country since 1981. So once S Bank, the fourth largest private bank, collapses, the very philosophy of privatization of banking will be ridiculed by the people of India. Obviously, people will not accept this philosophy. To ensure that its philosophy of privatizing banking sector to remain such alive in the country, the government wishes to ensure that the S bank does not collapse. So that is the first reason. Second reason is, well, there are a lot of big and small depositors who have invested who have deposited in S bank. Now the revised deposit insurance also gives a relief of only 5 lakh rupees. Even if you have 50 lakh in S bank or all the banks put together, you will only get 5 lakh. So obviously, what did Modi promise in 2014 before coming to power? He said, if Modi comes to power, the people who have money in Swiss banks will be scared. But what is happening after 2014? People who have money in Indian banks, both private and public, are today scared. What did BJP say in 2014? It said if Modi comes to power, money stashed in foreign banks by the black money holders of India will be brought back to India. Lakhs of crores will be brought back and credited into the accounts of Indian people. But what is happening today? Forget about money stashed abroad. Our own money, legitimate money kept in these banks, we are not allowed to withdraw. We have seen the restrictions in S Bank. You can't withdraw more than 50,000. We have seen the restrictions in the Punjab Maharashtra Corporate Bank. You can't withdraw more than 10,000. We have seen during demonetization, we could not get money even from our own bank accounts and our ATMs. So what was the promise? Promise was to get money from the foreign banks. So our own money is not today not allowed to be taken. So obviously if S Bank collapses, the big and small depositors' money will be in danger. And obviously this will create a massive public opinion against the ruling political establishment. So that is the second reason why S Bank is today bailed out. Third reason is, once S Bank collapses, there will be chain of withdrawals from private banks especially, and even some of the weak public sector banks also. There will be panic in the financial sector, and this will result in undue pressure on all the other banks, and there will be a contagion effect on the other banks. So that is the third reason they wanted to prevent this contagion effect. Fourth reason is, well, many firms have taken loans from this, not just Anil Ambani. So there are many firms who have taken credit for this. Obviously, when S Bank collapses, the credit disbursal will be affected, and these firms will find it, their businesses will be disrupted. Once their businesses get disrupted, their viability and profitability will be affected, and thus they will find it, these firms will find it difficult to pay the loans in other banks also. So this will have a trigger, a cascading effect in the banking sector in particular and the economy in general. So the S-Bank collapse may lead to a cascading effect, and the government wants to prevent that happening. So this is the fourth. Fifth one is not just the people of deposits. There are many who have invested in the bonds, which are especially called the AT1 bonds. So today the AT1 bonds have been written off. What do you mean by AT1 bonds? So the AT1 bonds give you more, if you invest in the AT1 bonds, you will get higher interest rate. But that is associated with a risk. In case the bank is in crisis, its equity is being eroded, then these bonds can be written off. So you take a risk, and obviously you get a higher rate of interest. So normally those who have a risk absorbing capacity will invest in AT1 bonds for a higher yield. But what did S-Bank do? S-Bank has motivated normal depositors, like the retired people who have deposited their lifetime savings into AT1 bonds, luring them with a higher rate of interest on them. And today they are even going to court. So all these people who have invested in the bonds and other instruments issued by S-Bank will be in serious jeopardy. So therefore government thought it can't allow S-Bank to collapse, not for any worthwhile reasons, but only to prevent a bad name for the government of the day and a bad name to its banking sector philosophy. So now tell me, why should people of India pay for the crimes committed by Anil Ambani? Why should people of India should pay for the lapses of Subhash Chandra FSL Group? Why should people of India pay for the failure of the Reserve Bank of India, Government of India, and other regulatory institutions? Why should people of India pay for the luxuries of Rana Kapoor? Why should we pay for the bribes which the Rana Kapoor and his associates and family have swallowed in S-Bank?